So for the time being, I'm here in this new place, trying to get everything settled and um, while I progressively fix my life and get it in order. Um, so the current situation I'm in, I have moved in with family, and I am now having to pay less rent, which is going to be helpful for me while I get a job and seek a job or go back to school. Um, I think that's going to be the best choice for me um, to get everything together in order. Um, and so the other nonsense, the other people's nonsense who made up stories and tried to frame me can, falter. Hopefully, in the next few years, I find a life partner and be able to move on with my life and, get a steady job, full time income. Or go back on Social Security because I've been living off of Social Security for the last 2 or 3 years. Ever since I lost my full time job, I made too much money. Um, yeah, so now I'm streaming most of the time. I'm temporarily in between jobs, but I've worked a lot of nice jobs in the time being, or seasonal jobs. But in most seasonal jobs, they tend to have, a short time working there. And I need to find something more full time, like a full time gig. Um, but these things take time, and I think patience and um, just really life searching and going through. Because I have a really nice resume, and I think my resume have worked it to the point where all my accomplishments are stated at the top, and then my work history going from as far as when I started working till now, having a lot of seasonal jobs or a lot of part-time jobs, um, and then sometimes working 2 or 3 jobs, including for myself. I think it comes to the point where I need to start really putting my ducks in a row and really finding a full-time job in which I can work my, work what I've gone through and what I've done and find the right position for me. Um, but hopefully I can get to the point where I can find a partner to who I can move in with and um, be able to support and we can be able to maintain a relationship. California living is for me it's too expensive. It's too regulated around other people's comfortability, and there's no comfort anymore for anybody to live independently unless you living in their premises somehow offends them, and therefore they get uncomfortable and make you leave because they're uncomfortable. So California has become, in my opinion, a very dangerous place to live. And the moment I moved out of those locations, those apartments, my life had gotten healthier, more sane, more enjoyable. Um, those people were toxic, malicious, um, disgusting, vile, vulgar people who would do anything just to see somebody destroy their life and would blame their political affiliation to do so. Um, I'm not going to get into further that general subject matter, but after I've moved out, I have noticed a big change in being able to live my life daily instead of having to watch my back every day, going out my door in places that are some might consider more liberal um, places. It's just hard nowadays because you can't live in a place without saying something or offending somebody now. And that was what it was like living in California. So after I moved out of those apartments, like I said, there was a big change um, in everyday living, living with my folks, that I didn't have to worry about walking outside and somebody being disgusted that I walked to the mailbox, which was occurring regularly at latitude 33 and at Caribbean Cove. Although, they couldn't prevent me from accessing my mailbox, because they can steal my mail, and there was keys and it was specifically for me. Um, they were trying to modify my access to local, facilities. For example, me walking on a public sidewalk, which the judge himself told the person and modified my order, that I could walk in public, which the person failed to tell the judge, um, and was trying to weasel his way out of the situation. Um, Person tried to violate my First Amendment rights. Person falsely accused me of things just because of my political views, um, voting for Kamala Harris at the time. And also, the person in which they voted for has shown time and time again of his anti-immigration stance, and this all came from a bartender who lived within the area. His name was Anthony Borelli, and he made it a point to try, for a slight he had 4 or 5, maybe 6 years ago, because I worked at the other location for about 3 years. And then I was living about half a year away from the area. And hunters and the hunters crew down there were trying to find fake reasons to blame on me. A lot of it was Yelp reviews when they were flagging my Yelp, from true incidents that happened to me, because Anthony's ex roommate or roommate had a history of roofing people. And so I, I made sure that I complained about that, and they flagged my account because I made comments about that. And this was from one incident of me doing karaoke and singing with Anthony's friend, Michael. And Michael was a heavier set gentleman, and we just weren't compatible in relationship wise. And he instantly tried to make me look like the creeper, even though I was just trying to find friends. And we both were into, he was into gamer stuff and gaming. And Anthony's ex roommate, or roommate, works at the barracks, and I believe that's a place another individual I had issues with frequents, because he used to be a bartender. And so they started making up a whole bunch of rumors about me that was really unsubstantiated. They claimed I owned weapons. I'm a pacifist. I don't believe in firearms. I don't believe in guns. I don't believe in violence. I don't believe in any of that stuff. I wouldn't be a Buddhist, or places where people have found me to be crazed for practicing Buddhism and not their version of Christianity, where their biblical beliefs teaches them to believe other faiths as insanity or crazed. So that was being projected onto me a lot. And also, I mean, when it came to arguments, I mean, we never went to court a lot of the stuff, because I'm sure the court would have valued that religion goes both ways, and it doesn't allow other people to project on other people's beliefs in their own spaces. I know that one particular individual said my uncle, who died of white matter disease, who was a famous YouTube priest, who would be booked on open line all the time, in which I was watching his last days on the program.
He was my uncle, and I was trying to check on his well being, and I happened to do it in public spaces, and see where he was and get to know my uncle before he passed. Um, and as well as my grandmother who was dying of cancer. I was, trying to draw within my sketchbook to get a bucket list of items done before she passed, including making music and boosting my karaoke tracks, which she was following me on.
So, really, to readdress what I was saying, my life has gotten better ever since I moved out of that slum, or those slums. My life has, it was a place, for example, they had dead plants on the patio. They would have stuff that was not to standard or code of their living situation. From cat feeders, cat gates, to dog gates, to dead plants, to atrocious artwork, and I couldn't even have religious signs posted in my window. Um, the one guy, Chuck Rankin, who is now deceased, even was pretending like he didn't know that there was a ledge in an apartment that he sold to people, and that I couldn't put my Buddha statue up, which was a small little medium-sized Buddha, which Buddhists believe you put it in a place of enlightenment where light shines through and it enhances enlightenment and brings it into your facility, not on the floor and make it dirty. So when I was doing that, it apparently offended some of my neighbors because of my aunt's Asian associations. They also specifically chose Asian individuals to beat around the bush to pretend like they weren't being racist. It's like finding somebody in the group and pretending they're not being racist. Or that they're saying that they have those friends and that therefore they can't be racist because they have that friend. Though my aunt and both my aunts did find them to be racist. Um, and specifically, also, it's like some individuals who are women who are talking about my brother's wife's rights as a woman to not have her, my, her, my nephew's twin and him, the nephew's twin not making it, talked about. Apparently, it was other women telling other women how women's rights should be. Um, and just because I was a male, I was being scapegoated on because I was a male protecting another female's rights. That just wasn't their rights. It's a cruel irony and so selfish and disgusting. The place that we are and the place that California has been. So luckily, now that I've moved these to a new location, um, I've noticed a big change. Um, I don't I don't hear the drama outside. The people who are sitting there waiting by the pool are not threatening or harassing me. Those individuals that were at my door um, are not threatening me or harassing me. I haven't had to call the police on individuals harassing me in some time. Um, or have unwarranted searches on me for no random reason, just for being disabled. And told that I couldn't park in a handicapped space. And then they flip my words around and say that they can to cover their own um, hindquarters, but originally telling me that I can't until I stood my ground and told them, being in a public park is not a crime. Drawing in a public park is not a crime. It's under my First Amendment rights. And also, my sketchbook, which is a journal, counts as a protected thing in which they cannot search. Um, it counts as a journal, a sketch journal, and telling them that they would need a warrant of some sort to search my phone and my journal or my car, um, when there's no probable reason for them to be stopping me, was within my legal rights. So there was another incident of
the individuals at the pool that said that they apparently liked me and wanted to get to know me. That never occurred when you were there. That was never a thing that happened. They bullied me. They'd mock me. One time they asked me for a drink, which I came by and gave went to a drink, but then they went to a side to each other and talked about banging me, and I didn't have the same feelings for them, and I was just trying to get to know the neighbors, not get with the neighbors. Um, so you know, I didn't know in the place where being in a neighbor situation means that you have to have people sexually advance on them. Then they started calling me crazy, as a typical person who sexually harasses somebody does, and will start victim blaming their victim, which happened a lot to me. So three individuals moved out. One who said the first moment in the first conversation he ever had with me was actually not with me, it was with my mother, and was talking about the death of his mother. And then he started going very aggressive at me for no reason. His name was Dave. Um, and then there was another one that lived above the pool. Never spoke to him. Never had any conversations. I used to teach theater makeup. I used to like I would teach online theater makeup, and I was doing tutorials, and I walk out with Mardi Gras makeup, um, and I was apparently being mocked for that and bullied for that. And free expression. I have every right to wear what I want, regardless of whatever gender I am. Obviously, I'm a male. Um, and I identify as a male, and I was born a male, and I believe I am a male. So everybody's allowed to express themselves as they are. And there was a trans woman there. Her name is Siana or Ciara. Bald head, big dangly earrings, very visibly a man that has transitioned. And was calling me a freak show, was calling me all kinds of names, was bullying me. Um, I really didn't have an issue with her until she started doing that stuff. I probably would have spoken to her and got to know her. As I worked in the past with RuPaul Drag Race contestants, and worked with circus performers before, which she'd probably be offended by, even though I wasn't comparing her to one. I'm just saying that was my work style. I also used to work at a kids camp, and the teacher, because I was a stand-in assistant teacher until I became the primary teacher, because the primary teacher flaked, who was also a drag queen, and so I had to teach a whole thing, and the production was Peter Pan. And Derek, who was a costume designer there, I believe he was also a drag queen.